fast. That's pretty amazing. First of all, let me remind you that this is a teaching gallery. So the whole purpose of the gallery is to have shows and then create discussion and hopefully you learn something. So please come back to the gallery often and see the show, kind of like watching a movie over and over. You'll find new things each time, perhaps. So first, a couple things about the gallery and about the school. Registration started today, so please, if you're interested in art class, all the art instructors are here. Photo, drawing, art history, humanities. And I have flyers for all those. If you're interested in any of those, in painting and ceramics, it started today. It's almost full, so you better hurry. And also, we have the beginning of the swirl submissions. It's December 2nd is the finale for that. So you guys, if you want to be in the Swirl magazine or curious what that means, I have a flyer. I'll put it on the table. You guys are welcome to that. Also, the play starts this week that they're doing on the theater. You should go see that as well. And this show's advertising that, which is kind of nice. Don't forget, if you want to know everything else that's going on, just log on to become a cousin on this. And information on the art courses. And then about this particular show. Over here in the carousel by the sign-in sheet, so please sign in legibly in the sign-in sheet. We have image list and an artist statement. And it's nice, this is a nice and tidy one. You put on that front and back, which is nice. If you're going to discard this piece of paper, please put it back in the carousel for us. Don't make us print more because you threw it in the trash. Please, if you're not going to keep it, put it back. If you're going to keep it to write your papers or whatever, please keep it. The dean, she couldn't be here today, but she's the one who actually found the artist that's showing now. This is, I think, our third show of the semester, which the next show is the student show. If you're interested in participating in the student show, please see your instructors. The information and the admission will become, the entry forms will be coming out soon for that in December. So it's during finals week is the student show. So during the finals week, the show will be up and it'll come down that Friday. So just on the record, don't come pick your stuff up before the show ends finals week. If you're in that show, you got to be in for the whole duration of the show. You might be going to grandma's house in Michigan, but your piece will have to stay here. So, without further ado, Alton DuLaney, the artist that's in the show, is currently at University of Houston. Like I said, I met him through the dean, and he is, I don't know if I mentioned it, but he's affiliated with what's going on in Splendora. And ever since he's mentioned that to me, I've heard it maybe 15 times in conversations about what's going on there, and it's pretty neat. And so the current show will be up for about a month, and I'm going to let Alton kind of tell you his story. So please welcome Alton DuLaney.
So hi everyone, my name is Alton DuLaney, and I'm an artist, and I make art, and this is my art, and thank you for coming. In my practice, I'm examining the concepts of power, pride, and patriotism, and especially how it relates to art and the identity politics associated with being an artist. Not only am I an artist, but I'm a Texas artist, I'm an American artist, I'm a gay artist, and then all those things together, gay, Texas, American artist. So you can see where the identity politics can get pretty loaded pretty quickly. The art collection you are seeing here today represents my production during the first year of the graduate program at the University of Houston, where I am an MFA candidate, and I'm also a teaching fellow. I teach the public art class there, which is all about art that's outside of the museum and the gallery, which is also a very important part of my work. As an art student, as an art teacher in an art program, getting a master's of fine art, I decided I wanted to create an art collection that could be shown in art galleries and art museums. And if you haven't noticed by now, I use that word over and over and over about the work. Through a variety of disciplines, I'm exploring this creation of art, about art, and the iconographies of it, the symbolism of it, tautologically and kind of redundantly expressed over and over. How do we know it's art? Well, it says so, in case there was any doubt or any question. Visible in the gallery are some of the explorations that kind of go down these paths, the symbols of winning, like trophies, the symbols of competition, like medals, the symbol of conviction, religion, luxury items, there's a jewelry piece in the back, vanity, there's a mirror that someone was using earlier, which was great, and again, pride, like tattooing, power, like handguns, and patriotism, like flags. So growing up in a small East Texas town of Splendora, as Robbie was mentioning, there were challenges to being proud. In fact, a double challenge being a gay artist in a little tiny Texas town. You had to look really hard to find role models and inspiration. I was really lucky that I met at an early age the artist James Searles that lived in Splendora, and Robbie was just mentioning that. After a 20-year hiatus, James Searles is back in Splendora, creating what's called Splendora Gardens. There was the debut exhibition this weekend. Over 100 artists exhibited their work there. I had pieces in the show. There were bands and food trucks and kind of this community center that he started 20 years ago and has fresh life recreating that. In addition to meeting and interning with him as a very young age, I ran into and got the chance to study with Deborah Ellington. And again, this was years ago when she was teaching painting. And I had another mentor in my life that was from the Montgomery area that I'll just call Lucky. Having all these mentors were really important to me as a young age, gave me direction in the art world, what I wanted to do, provided references of what it meant to be an artist, what it meant to be functioning in the art world. Although there was still a little stigma, being an artist meant you were underemployed, you were a starving artist, and being gay meant all kinds of terrible things. So I wanted to look for a different model, and I found that by, instead I created a whole different lifestyle myself. I moved to New York City. I became a creative professional there. I became very involved in a lot of different scenes, theater scenes, performance arts scenes, and a lot of an umbrella of creative professionalism, whether that was window dressing, set design for fashion shows, product and industrial designs, different types of designs, but always using that creativity element without actually claiming to be an artist, just claiming to be a design professional. I've worked and been well paid really coast to coast, from Fifth Avenue in Manhattan to Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills. And I kind of became known, I became very well known and regarded as a creative authority, a spokesperson, and almost a brand ambassador of creativity. So when I decided to return to academia and pursue my master's degree, I wanted to create a body of work that kind of embodied my experience of where I'd been and where I wanted to go as well. And then I also, as I mentioned earlier, wanted to embrace this artist identity and combine my past experience to an elevated art form, to create more of a product line for the artist to sell, a collection of art that could be hopefully both critically and commercially successful. I lived in Chelsea in New York for 7 years, which is the arts district, like almost 400 galleries there. So it was driven home to me, you're not a starving artist. This is a very thriving career choice. Because again, these are Manhattan galleries that are selling major artwork, showing major shows. So it was really inspiring to be there. So when I came back to this world, I started where I had design and display experience, which was the luxury market, specifically fine jewelry, an area where I've collaborated on projects ranging way into the millions of dollars. The first piece I wanted to do, which is in the back of the room, I wanted to be impressive, so I did this tiny, exquisite brooch. It's made in 18-karat white gold and set with diamonds. And this was inspired by Damien's hearse, For the Love of God, which is also known as the skull, the diamond skull. As well as just this conspicuous consumption that we have, and what comes with the pride of being able to wear, a diamond brooch on your lapel, or a Rolex watch on your wrist, or drive the right kind of car, whatever it is. Kind of this pride we have in materialism and consumerism. Further, I'm fascinated kind of with this divine power of the artist to create, design, produce, name, brand, and market art. To the ability to claim an object or an environment or an action as art, really just by appropriating it, declaring it so, just by saying so, really. The artisanal atelier formula for a jewelry workshop inspired me to look in some other directions to work that could be easily reproduced and also scalable. The natural fit for this was the stencil, which you see on a lot of the work on the wall behind me. It allows me to explore different iterations of text-based message through various fonts and applications. It can be applied to surfaces, employing a familiar vocabulary of things that are in the artist's toolbox of paint and canvas and frame on the wall, but at the same time this can be translated depending on the particular collector or client's work. This could be taken outside and scaled, large scale for public art. This could be taken into a commercial setting for hotels or other kind of public spaces for art, and it could be changed to match anyone's sofa, for that matter. Art can match the sofa. That's totally fine. I also became fascinated with branding. In New York City and Los Angeles, I have a branding team I work with that help brand some of my more performative, creative aspects of my work. And I participated in a residency this summer in Marfa, Texas. And one of the things was to look around there and choose elements from Marfa that could be translated into artwork. And one of the things I became really obsessed with was the branding iron. This is used to claim property. It's been used on everything from slaves to mark slaves as individual property, to, of course, to mark livestock. And out in West Texas, there's a big cattle industry, so I had some branding iron made, and I really branded everything that I could get my hands on: wood, leather. This is not in this show today, but it's in another exhibition right now, the branding collection. And I also like the double meaning. We brand ourselves as artists, and yet we could brand something as art. And as an artist, when we touch something and turn it into art, we make it into art. And again, now I'm taking the brand, I'm sticking it to the wood, and then calling it again and again art. Tattooing is also one. The portrait that's here, of course, is a temporary tattoo. I worked with performance doing temporary tattoos in museums, and I also have a couple of models that have gotten permanent art tattoos on their body, which kind of changes the expression of being in a permanent collection, right? Because this is something that will be on the person's body forever. Similarly, I want to explore the concept of pride through this obsession that we have with winning. In a culture where not only coaches, but also teachers and parents give out participation awards and accolades are bestowed at whim, I thought, like, what is it that we all want to win? And even me thinking about being an artist is like, of course I want to be a successful artist. I want to win at being an artist. I want to win at being a student at the University of Houston. And what does this mean? So going through my studio in Splendora, I came across this little tiny trophy I'd won as like a kid in the three-legged race. And I was like, yeah, it's like, you know, I felt so good as a kid getting that trophy. And I was looking at this object, and it's like this relic of my life. And I turned it over, and it said Ron's Trophy Shop on the bottom. And I went online, searched it. Guess what? Ron's Trophy Shop still existed. He's still making trophies. He's been doing it for 50 years. So I went to his little tiny trophy shop in Cleveland, Texas, and together we collaborated on the trophy that's on this back wall while I call him here. Kind of a lifetime achievement award. No more little trophies for me. They're giant, big trophies now. I did it. It's 72 inches tall. It's like it's a life-size trophy. It's 6 foot tall, like I am, and I awarded that to myself as a work of art and to be an artist. So I win. I won. So on the other side of that coin, I wanted to use my extensive experience in paper arts. I teach an online class called Paper Arts on Craftsy.com, and I have over 10,000 students. And also, I have a lot of media presence and experience, which I was talking about. For my paper craft and artwork, I've been on every talk show from Wendy Williams to Rachel Ray multiple times, the Jimmy Kimmel Show, Access Hollywood, Good Morning America. I just did the Today Show. So Google me sometimes. It's kind of entertaining to see me and the different looks of my hairstyle as I go through all of this. But I want to do something that maybe some of us might be tempted in the art world to call craft, and kind of show that there's no longer that division line between fine art and craft. And having just got back to Texas, and it was the fall, and I started looking around, and everyone was going crazy because guess what? It was homecoming season, and it was the homecoming mom, and people were going crazy. And I actually went into an art supply store, and mothers and daughters were fighting over things in the aisle, and spending hundreds of dollars on materials to make these moms. And I thought, well, that really shows both patriotism and pride, because it's team spirit, it's go school, go team, whatever it is. So I created the mom that you see on the back wall here in the centerpiece. I had custom ribbons made. I put bells, literally bells and whistles on that thing, and I was really kind of got in the spirit. I'm like, yes, I chose Red, White, and Blue as my team just because I kind of have this whole, that kind of then expanded into the whole line of Americana stuff that you see back there. There next to is a garter, there's also the flag, the medal, that kind of thing. I've done medallions, plaques, and other types of awards. Again, it's like winning, and it's like, go team, and the team is art that I'm cheering. So another thing that was unavoidable coming back to Texas after living in New York City and Los Angeles was a very different culture here on guns and the omnipresence of guns in our culture here. Every one of my neighbors and family members owns a gun. And that was something that in Los Angeles or New York City, I didn't even know. I only saw gun on TV. You know what I mean? I didn't even know what this was. So in April 2016, I created a piece called Art Gun for an exhibition at the Blaffer Museum at the University of Houston. I've been fascinated with the discourse about guns, the incredibly loaded, and the pun is intended, topic of license to carry, and especially campus carry. And I wanted to create a piece of art that took a somewhat neutral stance on this very controversial subject. So, inspired by the circus arts of the gun that pulls the trigger and it says bang, I created a piece that's a gun that pulls the trigger and it says art. And exploring the symbol of the gun as an object of power, there are pieces in art history, there are precedents for this, whether it is Chris Burton, who used the same caliber that I use in my piece, a .22 caliber, for his famous shoot piece. Marina Abramovich, who's used pistols in many of her early performances. Even Andy Warhol with his portraits of a gunslinging Elvis Presley. And then to a further degree, the ready-made object again, the found object, the Marcel Duchampian kind of thing is that we find something and transform it. Despite the cultural acceptance of guns here in Texas, my piece was censored from the exhibition by University police and by the museum curators. No one defended me. They said the piece cannot be in here. So I decided to include the piece in the show in its altered form, without the handgun, but still with its message, art. Such as sometimes is the case in the art world, having the piece censored turned out to be the best thing that could have possibly happened to this piece. I showed up to the museum and there were film crews parked outside. It was on the evening news. Next I had NPR calling me. I was on NPR several times in roundtable discussions about the fascination or about this controversy, whichever side you take. And I tried to remain as neutral as possible, saying I'm not saying I'm pro-gun or anti-gun. I'm saying I'm pro-art, and my piece is about the art. And that is what has been censored here, is my piece of art. So it really was an interesting experience. And I've also included the piece here. I didn't even try to put the gun in to spare Deborah and Robbie the trouble, but I do think it brings up some interesting some conversation points which are still worth asking, because now we are in that period where guns are allowed on campus. And just a little backstory there, I also went through the whole training of handgun training. I went through all the safety classes, I went through the shooting range lessons, and actually got the license to carry. I'm not carrying it now, I don't carry it anywhere, but I do have that because I thought, well, if I'm going to be an artist exploring this avenue, I want to know as much about it as I can. And so I kind of looked at it as a performance art piece, going through all those steps. And I met a lot of people from both sides of the debate, which was better for getting a well-rounded kind of opinion on what all that means. So a few of the questions I think this asked, and I'm not going to give you any answers, but if a thing like a revolver is designated as an artifact, like an art object, is it still considered contraband? Does art have the power to transform things, appearances, beliefs, opinions? When does an authority like politics or the police become the guiding curatorial force for a museum? Because remember, it was the police that told me that censored my piece. It wasn't the museum, but then the curators backed the police, obviously, because they had little legal choice. Can we see guns on TV and in movies and even out on the streets, but not in the gallery? Is a gallery or a museum or a college a sacred space for exploring concepts of creativity? And when can a gun be justified on campus? When can a gun be justified in a museum or in a gallery? And what is the difference between displaying a handgun and brandishing a handgun? And then finally, which do we value more? Do we value our First Amendment rights or our Second Amendment rights? And again, I don't have answers for any of those questions. Those were just some of the questions that came up in the exploration of this piece. So there's one last piece I want to mention today, and it's called the art button piece, which there's this jar of buttons over here. With the torturous kind of campaign season and election that we just all endured, and it's not even over, I was interested in creating something that promoted the democratic system and the importance of voicing our opinions, but without being forced to choose a side in this I win, you lose kind of dichotomy that we have in politics. So I believe that art is for sharing, for showing, for teaching, and for giving. And so, inspired by some of the pieces by Felix Gonzalez Torres, who welcomes museum guests to take a poster or a hard candy from his exhibitions, I printed up hundreds of these art buttons, and I invite each of you to take one on your way out. Just one per piece, please, while supplies last. Have an art button. And, then you too can wear this thing saying that you're proud to be an artist, that you have pride in art. As a now self-declared and established artist, I wear my button. I gladly assume this mantle and this identity of an artist. I wear the medal, the sash, the crown, the title. I fly my flag, art, which is kind of the ultimate symbol of pride, power, and patriotism, is waving your flag, whatever it is that you're saying. Having said that, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge some of the other artists in the room here, people that have contributed greatly to me both for this exhibition and my art kind of career and lifestyle in general. And I'm going to award a couple of awards. One goes to my dearest friend in the room, is Carol Gilson, who is an artist herself. And very supportive in my art career. And one will go to Robbie Wood for all of his help. And then I have one for Deborah Ellington, who couldn't be here, so I'm going to give you that. So thank you guys. All of you, thank you. I'm an artist, I make art, and I thank you for coming. And if you have any questions, I'll be glad to ask them. Otherwise, enjoy the show and have a button, and thank you.